For Iacopo, I've got two questions. One, you mentioned the Tuscany, Dubai corridor partnership. So one question was that, do you have successful models like this that Tuscany has done with any other city in the world that you can share with us? That you can say that, we did this with another city, or we planned this with another city, and it worked well, which we can then highlight to the authorities here in Dubai?
Iacopo, la seconda domanda è appunto cosa ha fatto la Toscana per il turismo, oltre alla prima è come ti avevo detto lo sapevi.
Sicuramente quello che è stato fatto in questi anni è provare a unire il passato con il presente. È molto complicato a volte abbattere barriere architettoniche dove ci sono delle città storiche e dei monumenti vecchi del passato. La Toscana sta molto migliorando su questo fronte per unire appunto le barriere del passato con le tecnologie del presente per trovare delle soluzioni. E poi sicuramente sono stati fatti grandi passi avanti dal punto di vista culturale. Stiamo raccontando un turismo nuovo, un turismo veramente per tutte e per tutti, non solo abbattendo barriere fisiche, ma anche sociali e culturali, quindi insegnando e educando a chi si occupa di ospitalità e di ristorazione, di accoglienza, come fare per supportare al meglio gli ospiti che vengono in Toscana.
Iacopo said that Florence and the whole Tuscany region, and I will say also all Italy, we have a very historical city. So what Tuscany is going to do is to combine historical structure of our city to a new tourism, accessible tourism. So it's not easy for one city like Florence to change his structure, but we are working to do this. And we did many projects in Florence especially, but not only in Florence, also in other places like Siena, as Diego said before. So in all the Tuscany we are working to, as I told you before, to combine historical structure with accessible tourism, thanks also to new technology. And we are, of course, in this period, it's not easy to manage this kind of tourism during COVID pandemic, but in the next future we will have many projects to change the structure of this historical place.
One more question for Iacopo. When do we see him in Dubai?
Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic is a huge problem for my fragile health, which is why I have been isolating in my home for 2 years. But I hope to be able to come to Dubai very soon, because this would mean that the emergency is over for everyone. So I hope very soon.
Fantastic. We look forward to welcoming you here. A few more questions for some of the other panelists. First, Anne, you mentioned that it's very important for stakeholders to collaborate. You can, the experience at the airports can be very good, or the experience with the airline can be very good, but then you're in the public transport, the buses, the roads, the taxis, everything must be. With the UK experience of the stakeholders collaborating, talking to each other, what worked and what perhaps didn't work? What lessons can we learn from that experience over here as we're progressing on our journey?
Thank you. I'm not sure, sadly, that I can give you the UK as an example of success. Very patchy, and I think in many ways you're perhaps better placed in Dubai to do this really well, because we have a system where most public transport is commercial and private. It's not state-owned anymore. It's not automatic for operators to talk to each other. Where we have had some success is those areas where, for example, at our major airports of Heathrow and Gatwick, where the train comes right into the station, and you can therefore have a seamless connection, which works much better. Where it doesn't work so well is where there is a gap from the airport to the nearest public transport that is not well served. So I think in those countries where perhaps more of the transport is state-run, it is easier to require proper consultation and to get everybody to work together. I think in countries like the UK and many others where it is devolved and private, it's a question of encouraging understanding that there is better business if everybody is working together. We do now have in the UK very largely wheelchair accessible public transport across the board, and transport that is pretty good for people with low vision, for example. Staff training is getting much better in understanding hidden disabilities. So it's always a work in progress, but I think the clear message to all states is to make sure that those bodies are involved in the same training and working to the same ethos and understanding the same market values across the piece.
So it's a common economic goal for them to collaborate, especially in the UK's case, or in a case where the airport is independent, private run possibly. That's a strong argument you could make, I guess.
Exactly. As we know that people choose their holiday destination not just on the airline or the airport or the resort, but all the things in between. So it makes economic sense for all the parties to be working together to deliver seamless accessibility.
Very true. I'd like to ask a question from Anna. You mentioned that sustainability was a key factor that we expect to change post-pandemic. We know we've been talking about sustainability in travel, especially in air travel. The travel sector gets a lot of flack for its sustainability credentials, perhaps slightly unfairly. So, how would you link sustainability and accessibility, if at all that's possible? I know in our region we're talking a lot about sustainability. Our airlines are booming, our airports are booming, or pre-pandemic they were booming. Our growth was possibly one of the highest in the world. So as we come back, we want to be more sustainable, but can we be sustainable and accessible? Can the two complement each other to our benefit? Anna, this is for you, if possible.
For me?
Yes, please.
Okay, yes. No, I mean, as a matter of fact, I think sustainability is quite important, but the fact that we have, and sustainability is a must to be followed, because it means that all the destinations are very keen on offering a better future in terms of climate control and, let's say, environmental control. But what I also said is that we should also go a bit beyond sustainability. Sustainability should be a part of what a destination will need in terms of tourism. We should try to avoid in the future to run, let's say, towards money, and tourism. Because this was one of the big issues of the pre-pandemic world, where many destinations were fighting against over-tourism. So we now, and destinations are important from this point of view, because destination will include public and private bodies to work together with the local communities to find out what kind of tourists they will really want, to find out what kind of influence the tourists will have on their lives, and try to make a destination happy from both points of view, welcoming destination and tourists going to that destination. And this will be particularly important with tourists with accessible requirements, with access requirements, because a destination which is welcoming is likely to be more inclusive, is likely to be more accessible, and so make the life of the tourists with specific access requirements easier. And if the destination will plan their future according to these principles, they can also include, as Iacopo was saying and Anne was also offering, include disability as a must. Disability at 360 degrees, taking into considerations all needs and all type of specific requirement. And I think that in this case, and with this view, sustainability can be a win-win situation.
Thank you. Keiji, I have a question for you as well. When we talked about universal design, we've seen with the pandemic, we've seen our environment become more zero touch, become more voice activated, we've seen a lot of design changes in our environment due to the pandemic. Technology has become a lot more visible, a lot more utilized. So do you feel that because we were able to utilize technology so much during our lockdown periods and during our social distancing periods, even for traveling, I guess, with all the zero touch-free facilities, do you think this will contribute towards universal design? It'll fast track some of the things that we were meant to do. It'll help fast track them.
Oh, what can I say? We have to try what we can do, everything. I mean, we can't see the coronavirus at all. We just expect the airflow, because the coronavirus floating or drifting in air, and you can't see at all. So you have to wear masks or put face shields on your face, or keep a certain distance from the people. But it's unsure. People feel anxiety. Is it okay to keep my life or health? That's what anxiety is always inside of people. So what we can do is, if we could, take some sort of means, scientifically proven, we know some technology or devices are useful for keeping our life safe, So if you know that, you have tried to do that. You have to collect the right products around you and put the right position, and to keep good ventilation. It is not good to leave the place where the air doesn't change, So if you open the window, and also you could open the other side of the door, it is better, than closed. So that kind of solutions, every possible solutions you have to take to keep your life or health. That's my opinion.
Thank you very much. Fred, last question for you.
Sure.
Do you, as a tourism provider, you're working with a large number of tourists, with a large number of travelers. A lot of them would be international as well. Have any cities, any destinations, any places outside the US stood out as good examples that you can share, and we can follow some of the good things they've done and implement them as well?
Absolutely. There's so many places doing a great job, and of course there's so many places that have room for improvement. As Anne mentioned, I think the UK is doing a wonderful job, and they continue to evolve. As I mentioned in my presentation, this hotel called the Brooklyn, one of the most, I haven't been there yet, but I know a lot about it. One of the most accessible and inclusive hotels that I'm aware of. I mean, the entire staff is fully trained on how to work with people of all different types of disabilities. Rooms that are fully accessible for people with different types of disabilities. So just an amazing place. Vancouver, Canada. Canada does a tremendous job with accessibility. Vancouver especially, very familiar with there. Toronto, another place in Canada that does it well. Italy, Grazia, I have to say, Italy is up and coming, and Iacopo doing wonderful things in Italy. And as we all know, it's difficult to work with historic properties, but making a lot of progress. A great example of that, during my travels to Israel, and my friends at Access Israel, Yuval Wagner, Michal Ramon, doing a fabulous job with just literally ancient buildings and places throughout the country of Israel that have been adapted and have become accessible for people with disabilities. Who would have ever thought that during my travels there, I could get my wheelchair into the tomb of Jesus, or down to the Dead Sea to be able to swim, or climb the mountain of Masada. There are countries that are doing it very well, and others that need to do a lot. I've been trying to work with the Maldives, for instance, for almost a year to convince them they need to be accessible even a little bit, and so far not. But we're still going to try to work with them. And of course, having been to Dubai a number of times now and hope to be invited back, I've seen tremendous progress, even over the past couple of years in Dubai with accessibility. So, Keiji, have not been to Japan yet, but I'm looking forward to visiting and hopefully visiting your center and experiencing the accessibility there. So, again, to answer your question, lots of places, lots of countries that are doing it well. And as Anne said earlier, we all will continue to evolve and innovate and become even more inclusive, especially as more countries, more processes adapt a universal design way of thinking, a way of planning, a way of designing. And that can only happen when people with disabilities are involved in that process. We've all heard the phrase, nothing about us without us. Well, it's true. Again, I go back to what I stated earlier. We are not your objects of the decision makers. We should be part of the planning and decision-making process. And so if we continue along that path to include people with disabilities in the decision-making process, in the planning and the design and the implementation of anything, we're going to succeed. And all of us on this call and in this meeting today can collaborate, can work together to make it happen. We should not be working in silos. We should be working together, and we should be working with each country all of us brings unique and very informative ideas and experience to the table. Let's make it happen.
I think, Fred, you stole my closing speech. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone, Fred and Iacopo, Anna, Keiji. Thank you so much for everything you've shared with us. As I've repeated before, all your videos, all your presentations, everything that we recorded today, everything we heard today, it'll be shared with a very wide audience. We're in this city and in this country, in fact, there's a huge spirit of collaboration. So a lot of our delegates, a lot of our attendees will reach out to you. We'll make sure that that happens. And I wish you were all in Dubai and we could have dinner tonight. But till next time, thank you all very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye.